gear and turn the thing off. I took the wheel off, so I'm going to take this clip off because this axle nut has to be removed. And to make the job easy, the way I would do this is when I take the nut off and when I want to take this off and get the leverage bar. You gotta have a leverage bar for this job. The hassle-free way I like to do it is I like to remove the center caps. I may have to remove this, like the spring. I took it off, and then I usually on this car you gotta pop it in. But not all cars have them though. Well, the steel wheels don't have them, so you don't need to do that if you have steel wheels. So what I'm doing on here to make the job really easy to remove this nut is I'm going to put this wheel back on with this open. So I could put on the wheel, but I don't have to put on the bolts. I just gotta put one on to hold the wheel in place, and then put on that parking brake, release the jack, and then put this on, put it on, and then put the leverage bar. And that's the hassle-free way to remove the nut. But I gotta be sure the parking brake is on though. And maybe, but then again, you gotta also make sure that if you have good quality tools, they're guaranteed to come off this way. It worked for me every time. Never failed on me. So it's loosening already. So after removing this dreaded nut, which I hope you guys didn't have trouble with, you have to remove the entire caliper assembly. Not the caliper, but the whole thing. Got to remove the entire assembly, everything. And the bolts are usually back here. On this car, it's the 17 millimeter, and it's usually only two big bolts. You probably may have to use a hammer right here to get it to loosen. Well, you can use a ratchet too, but I like to use these kind of wrenches for jobs like this. See, it's loosening this bolt. It's loosening. Okay, I just removed these two bolts, and now I'm ready to remove the entire assembly, which includes the support for the caliper. So I removed the entire assembly. See that? The entire. Put it away, but just be sure that you're not going to let the wires dangle. And then this is where I removed it. Then I can remove the rotor. And then from here, see, this is the part that I have to replace. This part. But it's the bearing actually. But for this car, I have to buy the entire thing. Like, that's the part that I'm going to replace. See? That's the part that I got to replace. And this is going to be replaced as well. This part right here. It's 4 bolts that I got to remove. And that's just why I need to remove the axle, so I can access them. And I'm probably going to need to remove the these bolts as well. Get this shroud out of the way. Remove this bolt, get it out of the way. Removed it already, so I'm having more access to the part now. So you may need to pound this axle right here because the seal is tight. You may have to pound it to loosen it, like to push it in, so that way you can access it. But before doing that, you gotta be sure that you put this back on, because if you don't want to pound it with it off, because it's gonna deface this area and it's gonna be a bitch to put this back on. So you want to be sure you put this back before you pound it. And even then, you still got to be careful when pounding it, because you don't want to deface this and make it harder for you to put it back on. You know, you could probably use a piece of wood or something to avoid it, but this hammer is great for this job. That's lead. Usually it doesn't need that much pounding though. It's not too much. Yeah. Now you just gotta remove the bolts in the back of this. Gotta remove the 4. That one, this one as well, that one, and then the one down here. It's 4 bolts that's holding this entire hub together. It's 4 bolts. But this one though, on the upper left, that's gonna be a little trickier to do because I cannot really access it really well because this gets in the way. So I may have to actually remove this entire assembly some, but as of right now I've used this wrench to loosen the bolts there that support the hub, and I'm able to access 3 of them using this, but I may have to use a special tool for the other one. Now about this bolt, since we cannot access it with using this wrench, we may have to, you can either buy a wrench with this end that goes more in here, or for what I did is I just used a ratchet like this, a shallow socket, 17 millimeter, to access this one into. And since there's not enough clearance because of this axle being in the way, I cannot put the ratchet in here because the axle's in the way. So what I do is I just get one of these extenders and I just throw it in there, and now there's enough clearance so I could put this in here. Well, I just finished removing all 4 bolts, and now this one's ready to be pounded off.